Welcome to the Institute of Jewish Knowledge and Learning. We are with Rabbi Akiva Mann, who has challenged us. If you think you know Chabad, if you haven't opened the Tanya, take it away, Rabbi.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Before we start, I just have to do a shout out to Ellen. If you see on your Zoom, everyone, in my right hand corner is our good friend Ellen, who adopted a Ukrainian family, a husband and a wife and two children, one of whom, I think the youngest one, if I'm not mistaken, is there in Ellen's arms.
And a dog.
Ellen, I just have to give a shout out to you that the enormity of your heart and your love was always apparent to all of us, but the fact that you opened up your home, not only your heart but your home, which is a very difficult thing to do. The fact that you opened up your heart and home in such a way that you made room in your place for an entire family that was in terrible and horrible place of desperation, and you took them in and you mamash saved them. You saved them. You gave them safe harbor and a loving place to get over the trauma and to heal and to forge bright futures. Is just I just give out my love to you and all of us, our love and our admiration to such an unbelievable act of chesed. Such an act of godliness. Okay, so I just wanted to say that and had to say it. And I know you don't need or you want the praise because it's you are gaining more than you are giving. But nevertheless, it's an enormous act of modeling chesed, modeling Abrahamic and Sarah's original model of having an open tent.
Thank you, Rabbi. But you forgot the dog who hates me.
and the dog. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So thank you, Ellen. Thank you for the model of inspiration. Now put yourself on mute.
You mean her?
Okay, so Chavra, let's continue. Let's continue going on. So the question that Rabbi Shneur Zalman that we left off last week was, is man doomed? Are we doomed to spend the rest of our lifetime in as poor spiritual failures? It's a very beautiful question. It's a haunting question. Are we doomed to never find the light of day that deep down is preventing us from realizing becoming aware of our own inner selves. We are not all geniuses. We are not all destined for academics, and we are certainly not all going to be spending all of our day and nights. And Shneur Zalman is asking, so what do we do with ourselves? How can we find our inner spiritual satisfaction, our inner spiritual harmony? How does the average person find their soul's resting place, a place where we can say, yes, I am here, I am balanced, I found a shtickle of my Tiferet zone. So comes the concept. Shneur Zalman introduces the concept of the Benoni. So those that are taking notes, right, like write this down as one of the pillars, if not the pillar, of the entire book of the Tanya. Benoni. The literal translation of Benoni means the in-between one. The one who is in between. Some people translate it as average, but I don't necessarily like that translation. Although in some contexts it does mean average. But Benoni, literally, the word bet, yud, nun, sofit, literally means in between, bain. Hamavdil bain kodesh lechol, the one who separates bain, between kodesh, between holy, and chol, and ordinary. So bain means it connotes separation, and it connotes the in-between spot. In fact, the book of the Tanya, this concept of Benoni, is so central to Reb Shneur Zalman that the book that we call the Tanya has another name. Shneur Zalman has two names for this book. And the other name of the book is called Sefer HaBenoni, the book for those that are in between. And he starts off the book of Sefer HaBenoni, or the Tanya, by quoting a verse in Deuteronomy, and this verse is going to be quoted a multiplicity of times throughout the book, which means it is one of the pillars of his motivation for the book. The verse in Deuteronomy that says, don't say that this word, hadavar hazeh, that these words, which are referring to the words of the Torah, and the words of the Torah are talking about words of the pathway towards spirituality. Don't say that this Torah or this pathway to spirituality is across the sea, Ever Layam, as to say, who is going to cross the sea to get to it, to bring us to it? And the verse goes on to say, but the word, this pathway towards spirituality, the word is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart. And Rabbi Shneur Zalman loves this verse. He is basing the entire book of the Tanya on this verse. In other words, he is saying, you look at the pathway towards spirituality, you look at the Torah and in its vast manifestations throughout the centuries. You look at this, and Reb Shneur Zalman is saying, it's not across the sea, it's not an impossibility. Reb Shneur Zalman is basing the entire book on the idea, a message to the people. It is doable. A pathway towards spirituality, towards your soul, is doable. Do not think of it as an impossibility. Shneur Zalman wants his readers to know just this. And the rest of the book is his interpretation, his explanation, his guidance to his readers of how it is doable. Sometimes we get very stuck on the how. The how is a very difficult practice to discover. It's a long road to discover how. The Baal Tanya is trying in his own way to teach us, to tell us, first of all, that spirituality is very close. Is very close to us. It's not across the sea. It's not across the desert, where it is davar. It is a thing that is very close to us. The trick might be how. You know, friends, when we read in the first few, after Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, the first sentence is V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with everything you have and everything you are. You know what most of us think when we recite that, when we meditate on that? Most of us say yes to that. Loving God, yes. Followed by, but how? How do I do that? How do I bring myself to that? What give me the instructions of how I get to that place. How do I get there? When we read the verse, the sublime verses in the Torah, like Kedoshim Tihu, be holy, Ki ani Hashem, Ki kadosh ani Hashem, because I am holy. Be holy. Every normal person would say, no, I would love to be holy. I would love it. Which is followed right after, but how? Give me the tools, show me a way. Friends, there happens to be a huge gap between moral and spiritual preaching and actualization. No? Isn't that true? How do I get from the place of envisionment and dreams and convert my yearnings and desires into an actualization, into something that is very, very real and actualized within me? And Rabbi Shneur Zalman is saying that the gap between the envisionment and the moral and spiritual preaching and actualization, it hinges on the skills that are involved. The skills. Sometimes we are lacking the skills. In Sanskrit, it's called upaya. Is that point in between envisionment and actualization, is what Rabbi Shneur Zalman is talking about. So it's called upaya in Sanskrit, and in Hebrew, it's called eitzot, with an ayin, eitzot. An eitzah is, literally speaking, is a word of advice. An eitzah. Reb Nachman has a whole entire thick book, 300 pages, called Likutei Eitzot, a collection of advices, spiritual advices, spiritual tools and skills that he enumerates. Those are points of advice with which we can make a change, a transformation, a difference within ourselves. Show me a way. So the entire book is Reb Shneur Zalman's attempt, is his attempt to show us the way. But it's a little bit more complex than I think he thought, you know. So the question is, friends, if he was writing the book for the Benoni, for the in-between one, what is, if the book is written for the in-between one, and we are the in-between ones, what are the other bookends that in which we find ourselves in between? So we have to start with two other concepts that are very important. That is actually going to create a triumvirate. It's going to create a threesome where we can really help ourselves gauge where we are as in-betweeners compared to what? So it's very important to talk about this for a little while, so we actually find ourselves positioned between two other variables, two other extremes, where we are able to identify ourselves in the middle as in-betweeners. Okay, before I go on, any comments, any questions?
Kim here, is there a hint if in fact the word for a mourner or someone who has lost a loved one, the period between the death and the burial, is that word connected? You can just say no if it's wrong.
I'm sorry, Kim, the period of what?
After your beloved, after your parent dies and the time that they're buried, what is that called? The period, what are you?
It sounds the same. It's that.
Oh, Nan.
Oh,
That,
okay. Okay, I can
yes.
be wrong. You can go on. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the bookends in between that on the right, I hate to be linear, but on the right and on the left, Benoni is right in the middle. On the right side is the I am not going to say the person, because I am not here necessarily talking about a person. I'm going to be switching, but I don't want, I want us to keep these two words on a conceptual level to the best of your ability. Reb Shneur Zalman first starts off with the concept of the tzaddik. So you might first, when you hear this word, you might think, oh, a tzaddik is you know, like an elderly man with a long beard and blah blah blah, right? So I want you to you know, I'm not discounting the old man with the long beard, but I want you to get that imagery flushed from your system, because Reb Shneur Zalman is talking about the tzaddik, the righteous one, in a very universal, on a very universal level. Okay, so we can get into like examples and personalities, but I don't want, and I want to mention that tzaddikim exist in every tradition amongst all nations of the world, including our people. But the idea of tzaddik is one that is universal and should not be narrowly seen. What is a tzaddik? So Reb Shneur Zalman starts off like this. This is a beautiful, beautiful Talmudic passage in the Talmud, and you might know it from other references, but this is a particularly important passage. He starts off with the idea, and really open up your hearts and broaden and expand your minds. Do not take this literally. Take it metaphysically literally. Metaphysically literally. He starts off with this passage in the Talmud before, and I'm going to use, I might use Henry Isaac, Kim's. I think he's the youngest. I think he's the youngest of one that we can actually point to. So the Talmudic passage goes like this: before one is born, an oath is given to the unborn soul, saying, "You unborn child, be a tzaddik. Be a tzaddik and not a rasha, and not an evil person." And as the child grows up, the Talmud continues that if and when that little soul turns eventually into a tzaddik and listens to that heavenly voice, even if the whole world thinks you are a tzaddik and you became a righteous person, regard yourself as if you are not yet a tzaddik. Friends, let me kind of like interpret. Think of yourselves. Imagine before you became incarnate in the form and identity that you possess right now. Imagine before that. There's some energy voice telling you, you are about to come to life. We don't need people who are going to spread evil in this new home of yours. We do not need people to pollute the world with evil and with negativity. Don't make the world worse because of your presence in it. Be a tzaddik. Be a righteous, sensitive, sacred, godly person. You immediately say, yes, I promise, I promise. And whoosh, you are born into this world. You go down the birth canal, the last words on your mouth is, I will strive, I will yearn to be the best that I possibly can. I will be a tzaddik. The import of this Talmudic passage is that all of that means that before we came into this world, the Talmud wants us to know or to imagine that we made a promise before we came into this world. And this promise is mamash in my guts. It is part of my DNA. And if I deviate from it, you know what happens? If I deviate from that invisible promise that I made, if I deviate, the incarnate individual gets this feeling that something is not right. This is what we call, I believe the Talmud is like telling us revealing a mystery here. This is what we call conscience. When I defy the promise that I made, I will be a tzaddik. There is something within us that bothers us, and we can call that conscience. We can call it neshama. There is something in our neshama when we do something that is not right, that is illegitimate, that is insensitive, that is immoral, gradations. There is a voice from our very deep place that calls out to us and says, but you said you were going to be a tzaddik. You said you were going to be a source of tikkun for the world. So there's many words we can use. I like the two words, conscience and neshama. The reason we are bothered by our paths of negativity comes, says the Talmud in this beautiful metaphoric way, comes from that oath that we took. And if we think throughout our lifetime that we have completed the task and we are the greatest in the world, I have attained the highest level of tzaddik, then the Talmud also says, don't fool yourself. There's more. So Reb Shneur Zalman is describing tzaddik not as a person, but rather in a qualitative term, not necessarily behavioral, that you look and that you necessarily act. You have the motions of a tzaddik. Reb Shneur Zalman is saying it goes so much deeper than that. Can you identify the tzaddik in you that took that oath? So he goes on and starts describing the qualitative midot, the qualitative energies of the tzaddik when he describes number one. You know who a tzaddik is? It's a very high level. It is someone, it is a high level to attain, and it's a high level to attempt to emulate. But he in no uncertain terms is shy. He says a true righteous person is someone who has mortified his or her own demons, number one. And we can go through maybe 1,000 years of psychotherapy and that might not still yet be attained. But it is someone who has looked so closely, so microscopically into their own selves that they have conquered their own demons. Ask yourselves whether you know where you are on that scale, and whether there might not be some journeys to take in that area. Conquering your own demons. You know, it's like it's clearing out, purifying. V'taher libeinu la'avdecha be'emet. Please purify our hearts so we can finally serve you in truth. Or as Florence and the Machine says, it's hard to dance with a devil on your back, so shake it off. We have to shake off our demons, says Reb Shneur Zalman, because it's very hard to dance with a devil or a demon on your back. Very hard to dance. And the whole point is to dance. So Reb Shneur Zalman's first definition of tzaddik is to eliminate our demons. He makes it sound simple. You know, it's not. It's not so simple. And the second point of a tzaddik And this is something that we ought to gauge ourselves in terms of our spiritual yearnings. Because if we don't know these, landmarks, then we're searching, we're searching an impossible highway. If we know the landmarks and we know the exit signs, then we at least know what we're talking about. The second point of reaching a conscious level of righteousness and holiness is that even our unconscious inclinations to invest our energies or our libido towards anything evil, towards anything that is negative, even our thoughts, even our inclinations towards evil have been completely eliminated. In other words, we have trained ourselves on a psycho-spiritual level that we have completely eliminated ego from ourselves. We have separated our inner, purest inclinations from the little voice on our left shoulder. I hate to do this. From the little elf, from the little demon, from the little devil on our left shoulder that is talking to us. And we are able to say, no one is talking to me anymore. I have purified myself where no little voices are are creating an inclination within me for pride, for ego, for putting people down, for hurting people. I have completely eliminated that from my psyche. And my gravity is towards this new idea that Shneur Zalman is introducing. My only propensity is towards nefesh Elohit. My divine soul, that voice that before birth said, be a tzaddik, is resonating in my mind and in my soul to a point where all other voices cannot even be heard, not even on an unconscious level. I have mastered the human inclinations towards ego. So, Chevra, I know you're saying to yourselves, this is impossible. This is impossible. Shneur Zalman is really talking about a guru, a tzaddik, someone who is in full control of inner thoughts and outer thoughts and inner thoughts, and why are you talking to me about this? It's an impossibility. I'm still a human. Reb Shneur Zalman is introducing the bookend that even that is possible. Strive, the Benoni, the one who stands in between, strive towards that. Shneur Zalman had to give us a model of what to strive for. And now he's going to make it a little easier, because he's going to give us an example of the other extreme. The absolute antithesis. What is the antithesis of the tzaddik, who has gained control in a beautiful spiritual act of harmony and tiferet? What is the antithesis of the tzaddik, the other bookend? And this you will probably find a little refreshing. The Rasha, the opposite of a tzaddik, is a Rasha. We usually translate that as the consummate evil person, the person that is full of negativity, full of criticism, full of cynicism. Cynicism is right next to evil. Cynicism is a close relative of evil. The Rasha is an individual, who is totally under the governance of the lower body drives and instincts. The Rasha is someone who is absolutely controlled by lower. We're gonna get to the definition in the Hebrew, to the lower body, to the lower body intellectual and emotional whims. The person who has no control system operating in them. The Rasha is someone who blocks out everything but their animal soul, what he is calling, and this is a major, we spoke about Nefesh Elohit, the divine soul, the divine propensity within us. And here, the antithesis of that, he is calling Nefesh Bahamiyut, the animal soul, the soul that has no conscience, no conscious control over themselves. Someone who is truly malevolent, self-absorbed, someone who doesn't give a damn, someone who doesn't possess, doesn't even know what the word empathy is, what compassion is. So we have these two extremes, and Reb Shneur Zalman is very quick to point out that just as it is very rare that a person is able to attain the level of consciousness that it takes to be a tzaddik, to be absolutely, totally in alignment with their divine image, as rare as that is, Reb Shneur Zalman says it's equally as rare to meet up with a rasha that is totally and absolutely evil. The two absolutes are extremely, extremely rare, he says. And isn't it true? In every evil person, we always know there is something there. For there not to be anything there is extremely rare. To be an absolute rasha is as rare as being an absolute tzaddik. So once we have these two variables, we are able to see ourselves clearly as Beinonim. We are in-betweeners. What does it mean to be an in-betweener? An in-betweener, a Beinoni, means the one whose character falls somewhere between the tzaddik and the rasha. The Beinoni is one who is like all of us, I think, and I need your input after I finish a certain portion. A Beinoni are the ones who are in constant struggle. We are in constant struggle, always in a mode of choosing. We're always in the position of choosing urges and thoughts to do wrong or to do right, to do this or to do that, is a Beinoni. The Beinoni, I think is all of us present here today, unless some of you are the secret 36 holy tzaddikim, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the Beinoni, in Reb Shneur Zalman's mind, is all of us. We're always on a roller coaster of choices. The fact that we entertain choices proves that we are in the middle. You know why? because the tzaddik has no choice. The tzaddik has come to a place where there is actually no choice. We are we have fluctuating standards of emotion, and we have behaviors depending on circumstances, and we have moods and mood swings. And depending on the circumstance, depending on memory banks and demons from the past, we judge each situation in a totally different manner, and we are always in choice. The absolute Rasha is not in choice. The absolute Rasha doesn't give a damn about anything. So there's no choice. The absolute Tzaddik doesn't have a choice, because the training and the propensity of his or her soul is such that there is no choice. The Tzaddik has no choice to gossip about people. No choice. They have eradicated that has no choice about hurting people. It doesn't exist for them. The Beinani is on a perpetual roller coaster. I'm going to take questions, comments.
Shabri has been very patient. And Marsha's right behind her.
Okay. Hello, Rabbi. Nice to see you. Rabbi,
Hi, Shabri.
Hi. You and everyone, hi. You mentioned that we make a vow before we're born. I also believe that along with that vow is the recognition that there are things we have to address in our life. These are automatically given to us according to what we need specifically individually in this world as we're born. And it's like, once I had mentioned to you, I call it a setup. It's God's setup that we should recognize, or we have the opportunity to recognize what we have to work on in this lifetime. And so I do believe that each one of us has different ones. Their choices might be the same, but they're different insofar as what they have to work out. And
absolutely. He's, the Talmudic passage that he's quoting is a general thing, but of course there is a unique tzaddik in Shabri. There's a unique tzaddik in Marsha, in Akiva, in Bruce. There is the oath that the Talmud is talking about is, in my incarnation, I'm going to be a tzaddik for this particular incarnation, for this particular. But I don't want to get into incarnation. I want to keep it general.
But I believe that along with that is specific yearnings that we come in with too. This yearning to know, this yearning to experience, and how do we do that? We find a tzaddik to guide us. We do need a tzaddik.
That's an important point. and if there are in Hasidic theology, that not every tzaddik is appropriate for any particular chassid. The chassid the disciple has to find their particular tzaddik that resonates.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shavri.
Rabbi.
Kim?
Hi, sorry. Since I was unmuting, I just got up to silence my phone.
Oh, hi, Marcia. Okay.
Okay, so it's what struck me is the last thing you said about the tzaddik not having a choice. So often we comment on the way, to some degree, Jewish perspective differs from other religions in that our holy people are flawed.
Yes.
You know, and I guess I am not sure that for me, it makes sense that a tzaddik has no choice. They may, I would think that they maybe have worked harder and smarter and have gained more wisdom than the average person, but haven't we spoken about how the minute you think you're there is when you should realize that you're not there? You're never going to get there. So
Marcia,
it troubles me. What?
Marcia, you have such a good eye. The answer is yes, because I was going at the end of this part of the presentation, I was going to qualify that statement. I was going to qualify that statement that is the description of the tzaddik who has basically from their inner world, who basically is described as someone who has eliminated choice, from has eliminated all temptations towards negativity from their psychic consciousness. I did want to qualify that with what you just said, but I didn't want to qualify it yet, because I wanted to create a level, maybe not an absolute level, but a level for us to understand that we are, and Shneur Zalman, this is Shneur Zalman's point, we might not be able to get to the nth absolute degree, but we are able to travel very close. I'm talking about the path very close to absolute holy self-discipline and self-control. So I was going to qualify that absolute thing, because I should I say now, because when we the Proverbs, King Solomon in the Proverbs says, "Ein tzaddik ba'aretz asher yasa tov v'lo yechta." There is no, he uses the word tzaddik. There is no righteousness. There is no person who has attained a level of righteousness that will do absolute all good, v'lo yachta, and not err. So that's a contradiction. My point is we have so much leeway in terms of building up that idea that we are in a situation as human beings, invested with a human energy and a human consciousness, that we Shneur Zalman's point is we are able. It is not far off from us. It is not over the ocean to get to a place of discipline that is going to grow harmony and grow divine unity in this world, where we are not slaves to our own egos, to our own demons, to our own shortcomings. There is that place, and it is not so far. It is not an impossibility that we might think it is. So
in a sense, that's like the tightrope between it's accessible and at the same time, and that gives us hope, and at the same time it keeps us from the despair of saying, well, this person might be able to never err, but I'll never get there, so what's the point in trying?
Yes, thank you, Marcia, and thank you for bringing it was coming a little bit later, so you preempted but very good eye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna, and then Michael.
Thank you. Rabbi, I had written on the side, and I know that you don't necessarily read it, when you were talking about tzaddikim, and that they had to choose, what came to me, and my question to you is, I wish I could see you, but our emblem is up. Would a tzaddik be considered more evolved than the angelic realm because the tzaddik chose to follow that path and to master it, where the angelic realm doesn't have that choice?
Absolutely right on, correct.
Okay. And I just want to say for myself, it is a path that for me, if I'm not awake, I tither and yawn and I fall off. But it's actually, for me in my life, it's been a joyful experience to know that I am always a choice, and that I can always choose again to work toward the higher self that is so alive within me that I either am suppressing and saying, shut the heck up, I'm not into listening to you today, or thank you for helping me to walk on my path. I think it's really a wonderful part of being human.
Okay, Donna, you're bringing up something, and my response is going to be to you and also to Marcia, and to all, of course, to all of you. But let me put it in a let me simplify, trying to put it in a perspective. Let me take two examples. Let me take the idea of gossip and disparaging people's character, even on a large level and on a minute level, and create a scenario for you and say, that the tzaddik, the truly righteous person who has purged the tendency and propensity to speak ill of other people that tendency to speak of even the minutest negativity about people is tantamount to your inclination or tendency towards murdering another human being. They attained a sensitivity within their souls that has become so natural that speaking ill of another person or treating another person in an illegitimate manner is the equivalent of us saying murder is out of my moral purview. I don't even own a propensity or tendency to kill another human being. So the tzaddik feels about not speaking ill of somebody. The tzaddik would have attained a level of love and consciousness to treat another person in their most minute, in a most minute manner, as if it would be a normal person's, an ordinary person's tendency to help in an emergency situation. You know, so we're talking about acquiring over years of disciplined practice to eliminate some tendencies that now do not exist in me anymore, and I treat the most minor infraction against a human being like ordinary people would view a major infraction, and that becomes natural in us.
Rabbi Akiva, it is 1:14. Michael is up. Oh,
I want to ask Rabbi, can you maybe make a list of 5 things that you think would be a good idea to work on that are actually workable? So it's not such a big issue, but we can break it down into little things that we can actually focus on and work on.
Very good. 5 areas of life, you mean?
Right, like you said, not Lashon Hara could be one, and then 4 others that we can really be conscious of. Am I doing this, or am I choosing wrong and need to move back a little?
Okay. Very good suggestion. Very good suggestion. I can simply ask all of you for the same. You know, think of one thing that you feel is a tendency in which you need help, whether it's in ego, in the ego area, in ego and pride area, whether so but I'll come up with 5, sure. If
Michael, then Molly, and you have 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, hi Rabbi and everybody. Wonderful to be here.
I'm Mike.
Just continuing with that last thought, self-discipline, self-control, and dropping some of those, the list of 5, I think was a great suggestion. But I want to kind of move things in maybe a little bit different direction. I'm always looking kind of like for practical things, for myself to do. And I think of it as a freedom of action, more so than we can drop things off or we can pick things up. If we're walking through a room filled with people and there's a lot of perfume in the room, as we walk through the room, we pick up a little bit of that perfume. And even when we've left the room, some of that fragrance lingers on us. And if we go back in the room again, we get more of that fragrance. And as we go in and out, gradually we become covered by the perfume, even though we didn't put any on directly on ourselves. So I want to take that kind of analogy and go back to our own experience of the little or larger amount of sadicness within each of us, the part that we agreed to, the part that was given to us. But just as I've mentioned a couple of times, the broken clock that has the right time twice a day, we touch being a tzaddik at various moments during the day or once a year or some amount of time. But we know that. We know when we get to see the sunset. We know when we see a grandchild being born. We know when we do something good for another person. There's multiple times when we touch that sadicness within us. And if we can focus our attention on the perfume that lingers within us, we can start to build up more and more of that natural freedom falling into that realm of being in the direction of the tzaddik from our own experience. We don't have to look outside for it. We can certainly drop off the negative things that we do. But I think we can just, by going into our own experience and immersing ourselves in what's it feel like when those experiences came up? What were we thinking? And focus attention on that. There's only so many minutes during the day we can be doing something. And the more time that we focus attention on that tzadikness that we've experienced, the less time there is to do the other things that we want to let go of. So gradually we just pick up the perfume moving in that direction.
Michael, beautifully put. The operative words that you used might have been that Reb Shneur Zalman is insisting on that I might not have conveyed properly. But the operative words that you use and that are focused in the mind of Shneur Zalman is you use the word immersed in and focused in. That the Beinani, the in-between people that are either vacillating or that are on a roller coaster and that are not concentrating on the immersion in the point of tzaddik, not focused on the point of tzaddik, is the point. The Beinani can fluctuate, is in a point of fluctuation and always vacillating between this and that. And Reb Shneur Zalman's point is, you know what the schematic of the Beinani has to be is focus, be aware of those tzaddik moments, and start moving towards those tzaddik moments. And that's his whole book of the GPS of once you know tzaddik, the extreme tzaddik and rasha, and you're a Beinani, what's the Beinani supposed to do? Supposed to get close to the perfume that you are going to enjoy, to focus, be aware of the tzaddik moments within you, so you are not in the middle gauge. Your gauge is going towards tzaddik, tzaddik, tzaddik. Be a tzaddik, not a rasha. So it absolutely has to do with awareness, discipline, and taking the driver's seat. The Beinani needs to take the steering wheel and steer him or herself towards where your propensity lies in the good. Do not stay in the perfect middle, because the perfect middle is garnished, is neutral zone, is nothing. So the operative words is focus, immersion in what we are doing. And that's going to come up next week when we talk about Chabad, Chachma, Bina, Da'at. The only way that Rabbi Shneur Zalman suggests, other mystics suggest other ways, but Rabbi Shneur Zalman is going to be suggesting this, that it is going to be through wisdom and understanding and knowledge that we will be able, the one in the middle, the one on the tightrope, who is walking the tightrope, be able to walk the straight line without falling off into disastrous situations, is going to be the formula of wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And that's going to be his GPS, his map. Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Molly has her hand up.
Good morning, Rabbi. Good morning, everybody. It's just really a quick question. We're all born and come into the world, we believe, pure, and hoping that we all achieve being a tzaddik. But when I think about it realistically, if we live in this world and are part of this world, there's only one choice for every human being that exists: wanting to do good and wanting to be good, or you don't care enough and you're bad. And if you have the time to be maybe a religious person who spends all of their time learning and are not exposed to the outside world as much as most of us are, how do we maintain that? And I know choice, but sometimes a choice is almost impossible. You try at the end of the day to do the best you can. So the question I have, is there ever truly a true tzaddik?
Molly, do you mean a true tzaddik? What do you mean in
Somebody
terms of
that is
what,
really
what
pure.
Marcia was saying, and an absolute someone who absolutely has reached a point of
I don't know that you can ever reach it. Maybe you can never reach it. You may probably can never reach it because there will always be another level, another step, another whatever. But at the end of the day, when I go outside, I want to believe that everybody can be one, but it's not happening. It's only internally, I can only be as good as I can be. And unless the rest of the world wants to do that, in essence, not that I'm lost, but that I will have a critical statement to be about the man who goes out and shoots a person yesterday, or the man who goes out and lights a woman on fire because he doesn't like her. I can't convert him. I can't make him a tzaddik. I can't say to him, what are you doing? What is inside of you? Did you not come into the world pure? What happened to you? Sorry, but
you're
that's
such
how
a
my
sweetheart, Molly. Okay, Molly, you know what you're saying is very very complex because what number one, what we can do with and for ourselves is much different than what we can do with and for somebody else. Those are two different areas and two different strategies. But what that's number one. That's number one. Rabbi Shneur Zalman is predominantly, and what we are doing is predominantly right now what we can do for ourselves. How the Beinani, how our in-betweenness can be directed towards good, towards positivity, towards tzaddik instead of towards rasha. How do we improve that? How can we build that part of ourselves up? How can we advance in that way? So he's talking really on a personal level, not yet on how we can influence others. So we have to, Molly, you have to separate how we can influence others and how we can work on ourselves. I don't know what time it is, but I wonder whether
we
I can.
have 2 minutes. Well, you
okay,
have 2
great.
minutes.
Shneur Zalman is saying, and Molly, this is in reaction to what you just brought up to the surface. Due to the pull, there is a pull within us and in society, but I don't want to talk about society. There is a pull within us towards nefesh bahamiut, towards our animal soul. It's animalistic. And I have to quote Reb Zalman. Given the propensity of the animal soul, the instinctual, without chachma, without bina, it's an like an animal does not have wisdom, does not have understanding, does not have knowledge. It has pure instinct. And there is an instinctual part of the human being that, you know, if left without discipline, without barriers, then the human being can become a beast of the field. So one thing I remember from Reb Zalman when he spoke about nefesh bahamiyut, this instinctual, raw, animalistic tendency that within the human being. He said we should all consider ourselves in terms of Alcoholics Anonymous. We are all recovering rashas. We have something within us. We have an animalistic, instinctual soul, and on one level, we should all consider ourselves recovering rashas. We're all rashas in recovery, even if we don't act out our evil stuff. We should, on the Beinoni level, we should all consider ourselves, our lives as a one-time affair. Every single day we have choices to make. Let us be happy in the Beinoni category. But let the gauge not be in the middle. Let it be tending towards goodness. But let us all not be surprised that we can act in the most horrible ways. We can harbor such horrible thoughts. So let's admit we're all Beinonim. We're all constantly walking the tightrope, always on guard not to fall. That's Reb Shneur Zalman's first word of advice. Let us at least not fall. And let us tend towards the goodness, the holy, the sacred, the transcendent.
And on that note, with that hope carrying us forward to our next class, Ellen, if you're still on, I'm not co-host, so if you could stop the recording, that would be good. And we have coming up, the next new class is going to be Wednesday with Rabbi David at 10:30.